Cryptocurrency regulation can be a controversial topic, but plenty of experts say crypto investors should welcome it. For starters, more regulation could mean more stability in a volatile market. Regulation also has the potential to protect long-term investors, prevent fraudulent activity within the crypto ecosystem, and provide clear guidance to allow companies to innovate in the company. However, taking presumptive steps without data-backed evidence can cause more harm than benefit. And that's what India seems to have done through its taxation policy, even before framing principally sound regulatory policies to oversee and manage the emerging digital asset known as crypto. This is how I see the government's move, putting the cart before the horse. And to support what I'm saying, I have got myself a special guest. But before that, let me first welcome you all on Crypto TV. I am your crypto host Parvati Nirman, and to continue our conversation, I have with me in the studio a guest who is a technology policy consultant, has very closely worked with Reserve Bank Information Technology, that is ReBIT, cyber security and cyber safety awareness campaigns, and law enforcement agencies in the domain of emerging financial technologies. Without much delay, let's begin today's show of Crypto Masters. Hello and welcome to Crypto TV, and in the studio, Mr. Ranjeet Rane, welcome.
Hi. Hi Parvati, thanks a lot. Great being here, and thanks for having me on your show today.
Thank you. So my first and foremost question to you is, given your experience and association with RBI related body ReBIT, do you also believe that cryptocurrencies don't have value and do not have any real world use cases? Do you also think that they should be banned?
A great question to start with. My institutional affiliation and my independent opinion are obviously on two different planes. So what I will tell today is more about the understanding that I have developed from my own research. So the intrinsic value within cryptocurrency is definitely subject to the different parameters, particularly in the sense that the scarcity that they are built around, and the kind of use cases that you're saying, the real world use cases that we see.
Right.
I think there is a element of inevitability of this concept, right? We can't just brush it aside anymore. So whether is it something which the central bank would look at as something that it needs to regulate, or is it something that it needs to be maybe thoughtful or worried about in the long term?
Right.
I think a lot of this will evolve basis our understanding that we put in understanding the concepts around this. So yes, that is how I would put it.
Yeah. So can you also share your thoughts on NPCI's stance on UPI payment in relation to crypto and the ongoing shadow ban on crypto? Is there a way out?
Definitely. I think the way out around most such issues would be that the concerned stakeholders should just sit down and talk about what is the implementation hurdle that they are facing. And more often than not, these things should be defined before the things come out in the public domain than they coming out later on. Because see, at the end of the day, it is the consumer aspect which gets dented. So anyone who is putting some degree of, I would say, faith in the system to particularly trade in these currencies and use the now world-renowned UPI platform for this.
Yes.
By taking these last minute, or I would say emergency kind of steps,
yes.
We put the entire trust in question, right? So it's definitely not something that should be done. One-off is still okay, but it should not become a practice. That is how it should.
I mean, this is already causing a lot of difficulties because there are people already there. I mean, signed up with the exchanges, doing the.
See, what we need to understand here is we are also pitching UPI to the world.
Yes.
As a platform that we would want to help other countries integrate as well. And then the other thing is UPI falls under something which is broadly known as a public digital infrastructure.
Right.
So the amount of exclusions that you can make for anybody to use such a platform would essentially determine how much the platform would remain relevant in the future. So such steps should be thought through, and at the very least should not come off as a knee-jerk reaction is how I would put it.
Yeah, the way it happened.
The way it happened, yes.
Okay, fine. Let's move to the next question.
Sure.
Yeah. So CERT recently issued guidelines to report cyber incidents, putting the entire security landscapes and the VPN service providers in a state of flux. This is also the first time that a mechanism is being put in India that makes reporting cyber incidents mandatory. I would like to ask this question in 3 parts. Firstly, your views on the development, including government asking VPN provider to store data and submit to the government when asked for. Secondly, isn't it a breach of data privacy? And thirdly, what is the guarantee that the data will not be used by the government to maintain oversight on individuals like China does?
Understandable. I think the concern is very well taken. And a larger part of it stems from the fact that our data protection law is now long due. And one of the reasons why we see these, I would say, ad hoc announcements in the terms of notifications or rules being issued is because the overarching understanding of how we will look at data protection in our country is still not clear. Agencies like CERT are, while they do have the mandate to issue such notifications, sometimes one wonders if there is an element of transgression of their mandate, particularly in this domain that we are seeing. Because the data protection law actually has a very clear notification framework already there in its draft. And to get an agency like the CERT involved into this puts questions on what is the long-term certainty that is being offered for different players in this market. Second thing, and which is
so it is questionable.
It is definitely questionable. See, the point is, whenever such things are issued without having due public consultations done, or when if I remember correctly, sometime in around 2015-16, there was a draft encryption policy which had come out, and this policy was released on a Saturday, and it was not worded well enough to be recalled on the next Tuesday. So the whole idea is that if something of this stature has to be put out, then at least some degree of public consultation is necessary. And what this gives is when the final directives will come out, it will have a higher degree of compliance because the industry would be taken on board. And this is not new in our ecosystem. The regulators like TRAI and SEBI have been following this practice for a long time. So for the concerned agency to come out with this sort of a notification, and like I said, like we even discussed in terms of the UPI thing, it is the shock effect of that causes more problems, right? That's the whole point. And then to equate this with an authoritarian state like China, I will definitely say that we are not there. But it seems that sometimes we are taking steps along that road as well. It would be a better way to actually have these. We have laws and regulations in place wherein information can be sought from different intermediaries as the VPN service providers on very legitimate reasons. So it's not that we don't have access to this information. But to put in place measures like keeping in logs for 5 years or handing over information which is having a element of sensitive user information as well. This puts the entire, as when with the UPI thing, the user as well as the industry suddenly starts losing trust. And I think as a government which has been so strong on its digital push, I think these measures can definitely be more thought through than the way they are put out as of now. So that's how I would put it.
Right. Fine. So let's move to the next question. RBI, government and global regulatory concerns on money laundering and terrorism financing. We all know that, right?
Yes.
And somewhere they are showing the concern related to that than the other things which are happening, whether it is UPI or whether it is a shadow band.
Right.
So do they really have data points to actually prove it, like what they are talking about? And if crypto was to be banned, will it end all the problems?
Again, good question. So with regards to the data point, I understand that the concerns around terror financing or even using crypto assets for financing illicit trade is very much presented to us as a argument against using crypto in a mainstream manner.
Right.
I would go with you to say that the data around this is entirely missing.
Yes.
And it is very specifically missing in the Indian context.
Yes.
Because what we are looking for is when people who have, whose words have immense value in our system, people who are heading institutions in a higher authority, if they're making a statement of such nature, then very ideally it should be backed with some degree of reference. It could be an in-house research that has been commissioned by these institutions,
right.
or there can be very clear established data points taken from other agencies across the world, right? So let us say if crypto is been something which is being used for financing crimes, then is there an Interpol report which has been cited for making that claim, right? So what we see is a lot of
procedure, the methodology,
right? What we see is a lot of, and in policy terms we call this rhetoric, goes around, essentially trying to give that feeling that we know best, or we would be knowing better in terms of these particular scenarios. So it's not a good approach, because at the end of the day, what is going to happen is we live in the internet age, and people will figure out ways and means to find information on their own.
Yes.
There are other central banks across the world who have actually engaged their respective research departments into long-term studies into understanding crypto space, right?
Yeah.
And if not directly central banks, then the Bank of International Settlement, BIS, their innovation hub based out of Singapore, is also having very steady and good academic rigor in terms of their own data as well. So to make sweeping statements, which also then put the entire consumer protection aspect in question, and then not back it up with any strong data points. I think that's not a good process or no good approach any which ways.
Yes.
And definitely the first point that I made at the very beginning is the inevitability of this concept, right? So banning something is not the way forward at all. In fact, we only sort of highlight our lack of understanding of a technology when our first reaction to it is to ban it. So I think we can do a lot better than that.
Yes. So government taxing crypto income, TDS and slapping GST, is it an attempt to create data to keep a tab? Like, how will they use it and to infer exactly what?
So this is a very recent development, and I'll be very honest, the data point around this, right? We're having a discussion where we say if you want to say something, say it with some degree of data to back it. The data points around this are not really in place.
Yes.
And what the government entails to do out of this, see, at a very bare minimum, it could be an attempt to just shore up tax revenues owing to the high value transactions that usually happen in this space.
Yes.
But again, there could be other motives behind it as well. But maybe till we at least have a year's worth of records to see what is actually happening, I think it will be too premature to say what is happening as of now immediately.
So you think some time frame like 6 months or something?
Yeah, like I said, if this is going to be part of a tax cycle, then at least till we get the data around the first filings, we should wait for that particular thing, right? So that's how.
So probably they could have, even if they wanted to come up with UPI, they wanted to stop the UPI payments and they wanted to come up with this shadow ban and things and other things, whatever the concerns were, they could have done it later.
Completely agree with you. So,
instead of creating a lot of havoc.
See, my point here is that in our country in particular, we are looking at the policies around technology in general and financial technology in particular are being put across as if it's an on-off switch, right? Either this or that kind of a thing. But in reality, it is more like a dial, right?
Yes.
So you have at the very extreme, you have doing nothing about an entire technology or an intervention, and then it goes on from there. And this is not of my own making. There are legitimate theoretical frameworks in place which tell this, that this is how a decision should be taken. So it starts with not doing anything and then goes right up to the government doing it on its own, right?
Everything
on its own. And then there are different phases. So you could incentivize something.
Yeah.
So like what we are seeing in case of the RuPay cards.
Yeah.
So the government is making a very cautious effort to incentivize its uptake, right?
Yes.
Then there could be a way to.
Good, you brought that up.
Right. No, but that is what is happening.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
There is a proper effort to incentivize a certain choice over another.
Yes.
And then there is another way in which you can, the other side is to sort of reduce the incentive to do something. So that in case could be something like to put a ban on something or to make something prohibitively costly, right? So these measures are available. Now, when you suddenly flip from not doing anything to doing it on your own, the costs have to be borne, right? I mean, it's not easy to make that shift overnight.
Yeah, because I remember December 2021, we were like, we had no idea like where this will go and how things will actually, take shape. And suddenly when the budget announcement happened on 1st of February, the scenario suddenly changed, like the dial example that you have used.
And what also sort of, as a policy professional, what bothers me is the lack of certainty that is there in this entire environment.
Yes.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
The bill which was supposed to talk about what is going to be the future of crypto assets in the country was lined up in the budget session.
Yes.
And there was a lot of hue and cry, and everybody was so excited as to what is actually going to happen.
Yes.
The bill never got tabled, right, in that particular session. And the next thing we know is the monsoon session, which was the logical extension of what the business of the house is.
Yeah.
In the monsoon session, the bill is not even lined up. Right? So, what is the certainty that you're trying to project over here? Another aspect that you can see is if you look at the Minister of Finance and other ministers, they answer questions in the parliament with regards to such topics, right?
Yes.
And you see a very clear trend of deflection that is there in their responses. So, my point is only this, that, wouldn't it be better to maybe just lay out a 5-year sort of a roadmap that's saying that, okay, today we are probably going to spend 2 years understanding what we are looking at.
Yeah, and if it yields the results that we are looking forward.
Go forward, right?
Yeah.
What it does is it gives even the most uninformed of players in this particular space a very clear idea as to when is it that they can engage with this ecosystem.
Yes.
So if you have a high risk individual or a high risk player who's willing to put all his bets at a given point in time, they will sort of be okay with the uncertainty.
Yes.
But somebody who's not having that risk appetite, they will wait out for that plan to pass. No. The second thing is, a lot of the times we are associating decisions with a certain form and type of government. But we need to understand that this needs to go beyond a single government or something like that. So that certainty will only come if a roadmap is in place.
And we have no idea.
Exactly, it's not out there, right? I mean, my point is the lack of any credible public-facing documentation from any of the nodal agencies. It could be the sector regulators, it could be the finance ministry for that matter.
Right.
We're not having anything. Like they decide a slab of taxation. And how is that slab decided? I mean, I am very interested to know how does something fit in slab X and not X plus 5 or not X minus 5. So, but it's not there. I think the
entire country, everybody is wondering the same thing.
I think I'm echoing a larger public opinion over here, but that's how it is shaping up.
Yes. That's it. Okay, fine. Let's move to the next question.
Sure.
And this is a very important question and the last question.
Okay.
Will rollout of CBDCs kill crypto as the global authorities think? What problem will it solve? And what about the privacy issue?
Okay.
So, from where to where we are moving.
Right? So if you go back to the dial that I spoke about, the CBDC part is where it comes to doing everything on your own.
Yes.
And I think this is where the lack of any academic interaction in public domain is important.
Yes.
Is because there is a very convenient assumption that CBDC is the natural counter to crypto. or privately issued a token of any sort, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been projected.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, that it's been told that that is how it is. So it will be told that if we are worried about crypto, then we are having CBDC to counter it.
Yeah, which is
exactly not the point, right? See, and you don't need a lot of detailed understanding to even come to this thing, right? I mean, the whole idea around CBDC still being a very centralized issuance. And the decentralized nature of any other crypto asset, that in itself should draw the distinction. But that's not how it is being told. So I think, yes, if they are inherently different, then there is no question of one closely. What would probably mean the death of the other currencies is if a legal framework comes in which says that we only recognize the CBDC of the geography and not anything else.
Yeah, but then that becomes, even though the government is telling it a decentralized part, but it becomes centralized end of the day.
CBDC is among the centralized aspects of
so it
currency
definitely reject the idea of actually having the decentralized financial system.
I think if we go back to some of the speeches of the I'm not actually remembering the name of that particular dignitary, but he headed the BIS for some time, and it stems from that. The whole idea that one is the counter to the other is a global, and you said like global authorities are looking at it from that point of view. But what China has shown us in their experimentation with CBDC is that their CBDC is even not hinged on blockchain for that matter, right? So it is not even just saying that they are even having the same underlying technology. So
we are at least welcoming that.
Exactly, right? So my point is, while going back to the first draft of the bill that was presented for cryptocurrency, which very clearly said that we recommend a ban on all private cryptocurrencies, but we are very much looking forward to seeing how blockchain as a technology shapes. Right? So again, this is the kind of lack of certainty that I'm trying to.
I think they are welcoming the technological part of it and they want to apply it.
Right.
But when it comes to CBDC and saying that CBDC will be there and the other will be banned, then that seems like an injustice to me, actually.
No, I think it is not just. I mean, injustice would be still a very, I would say,
I know where
easier way to put it. But I think it would be for me, it would be unthought of. To be very honest.
Yes.
That is
it is
the
a
main,
serious issue.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
The problem is, and then I'll come to the second part of the question, right? That what problem is it trying to solve?
Yeah.
And in its very nascent form, it actually looks like a problem looking for a question. To put it.
Which one should I solve? Which one should I solve?
Right.
Which one should I solve?
It is like I have a solution which I'm calling CBDC.
Yeah.
And now I will see what is the problem that CBDC will fix for.
Solve.
So there is this talk about making it as an international payment option.
Yeah.
Or there is another talk about making it, sort of a regional currency.
So honestly, then it's not a solution. It's like something that has been derived and trying to fit in the system.
Exactly.
And which is not wrong in a way, but to say like the other cryptocurrencies are, to be banned and things like that.
I will really step back and see and try to answer the question as to how does this work in India's national interest, right? So let me say that if presently we are having this issue with respect to the way technology companies are being cornered by China and all that, and we have the Quad countries which are coming together to sort of counter that influence, right? So what if my CBDC is an intra-Quad payment system? Right? Now I have a use case and it is very much in India's national interest. But my question is this, right? So this has got nothing to do with the crypto scene within my country at large. So circling back on the aspect that is the rise of one going to bring down the others, then I doubt that is technically going to happen.
Right.
Two, is there a answer that has been sort of been put forth? So I think that is probably not happening. The use cases may or may not evolve over time. In its present sense, there looks to be a comparable to the arms race of the Second World War. There seems to be a CBDC race going around. Who is coming out with the first workable version of CBDC?
Yeah.
Ironically, we are not even looking at what China is doing in that intensity either.
Yes.
Because among the very few countries who have some degree of stability around that concept, we are not even seeing how they are going. Because if one can transcript Mandarin reports, it seems that their payment industry is not happy with their CBDC project. Right? So these big players like Tencent and Alibaba and all these guys, they are not happy with what their government is doing either. So to say that this is a payment solution might not even work well in our context either.
As well.
And the last point in terms of privacy, I think the one case that is strongly made for CBDC is that it will help central banks do a very direct transfer of its monetary policy objectives.
Okay.
So when we say that controlling inflation is one of the intended objectives of the central bank,
right,
and currency which is devoid of any intermediaries will help the central bank do this better, right? But again, I would, even as a lay citizen,
very well brought up by myself.
Thanks, but like I'm saying, that this has to be backed by so much credible academic research.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't just go about saying, okay, from tomorrow. See, there have been these spur of the moment economic decisions that we have seen earlier as well, and they have not ended well. We have a history of these things happening. Right? So nothing is actually stopping the authorities in question to, and like I say, put a 5-year roadmap in question.
Yes.
Tell people that, starting 2025 to 2030 is how we will transit from cash-based economy to a CBDC-based economy, and people will be prepared for that.
Right.
But if you are just going to, and ironically, a lot of these announcements happening in the budget, which is not supposed to be the right platform for announcement making, and it's just supposed to be a place where the government tells, okay, we did this, it costed so much money, and now we want to do this, and we need more money to do that, right?
Yes.
But we are seeing a lot of policy announcements creeping into the budget as well. So again, who is supposed to take these decisions? What forum are they using it? And what degree of certainty are they putting forward through these decisions? I think these are the questionable aspects over here.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I think I stretched the last question too far, but
it's okay.
That's how.
And with that thought in our mind, I'm going to end this interview. Thank you so much for coming to the studio and giving your time and energy. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
and I was very happy that you happened to be in Bombay, that we could do this one-to-one.
Definitely. I mean, doing it in person anytime better over doing it through any other channels. But great. Once again, thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to more interaction with you guys.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching our show. And this is Ranjeet Rane that I was conversing with, who is a specialized in policy and technology. And I will bring you more such experts from the domain on the show of Crypto Masters. Thank you once again, and keep watching Crypto TV.